Well, to both of the chairman and the ranking member, I'm very pleased to be able to join you, and from my perspective, you're two distinguished members of Congress, and thank you for your service. Thank you for your military service. Before I start, I think because we're in Homeland Security, allow me just to put on the record that to be able to compete with China, I think it is extremely important that we assert democratic values, our values, the strength of our values, our competitiveness, and maybe we will have an opportunity to get the answer to why, I believe it's public now, all of the personal data of so many Washingtonians, members of Congress, House and Senate, have been breached. I don't believe that we have had any determination of who breached it, but we certainly want to be on top of those elements, be they commercial or be they a foreign country, from exposing private data of members of the House and Senate who have the responsibility of governing this nation. I wanted to put that on the committee's record because I'm incensed about it and hope that we will have some involvement ultimately in assessing that situation. But this is a very important hearing, and I want to begin by raising this question, and I'll have a second question, and I think, gentlemen, I will be finished. But I want to raise a question. Dr. Jose, you have described the evolution of the Chinese Communist Party's thinking when it comes to China's role around the world. We know that in recent years, the CCP has set its aims at developing China-centered and controlled global infrastructure, transportation, trade, and production networks. They tolerate no diversity when they go into countries. It is China, China, China. They don't even use the indigenous people. And China is competing with the United States in a global competition over government values. We have to win the world over by saying that our values of trade and otherwise are much better than theirs. And so how successful are China's efforts? What actions can the federal government take to outcompete the Chinese Communist Party? Frankly, I think we're nicer, but I also think that if you interact with us, you'll have the benefits of investment in your own country, and you'll have the benefits of long-term recovery. Many of you know that we passed the CHIPS Act, Chips and Science Act, close to my heart as a former member of the Science Committee, which invests $280 billion to increase domestic semiconductor production. I'm excited about that. Some of that may even come to Texas. Unfortunately, not these gentlemen here, I don't think, that 90% of our friends on the other side of the aisle did not vote for it, but I know that they're probably working with it in their districts. So Dr. Jose, would you share that with me? And I'd love to have Ms. Bingham to answer that question as well. Dr. Jose, would you please? And
thank you, Congresswoman.
Looking at my...
These are really excellent questions, and I thank you for them. So you raised the issue of difference in government values, and I agree, although I should note that we do have some common interests, if not common values. China and the United States both want to see their populations live prosperous lives, for example, and both sides want to see the world address some of the challenges of global climate change. That being said, it is very true that the two countries have stark differences in the way they see the relationship between state and society. The protections that we have in the United States by which citizens enjoy civil liberties and can organize against the state in order to keep its power in check are simply not present there. And it is true that China indiscriminately or without considering the types of behaviors that the target regime or the target state is conducting, will invest in it. And you mentioned the Belt and Road Initiative. This is certainly one of the keystone portions of China's efforts. I do agree that the nature of the regime in that target country is quite important. We do have some research that suggests that economic statecraft that China uses, for example, is less effective when the target country is democratic. There's an intuitive logic there, of course, because if individuals, just like in the United States, can mobilize against their government if they are in collusion with the Chinese Communist Party for illicit gain, they can hold them accountable. And so I think that is it's a mechanism by which we can indirectly shape China's ability to use the Belt and Road in the way that you're describing.
Ms. Bingham?
Congressman, if I can add, you mentioned it exactly right. China has a playbook that they're using with the Belt and Road. We've seen it, the ports, 5G are examples, the ports where they go into countries. Djibouti is a great example where they go in, they operate the commercial port, they kick out the locals, they build up military infrastructure, and then it's a greater threat to the region and to our national security interests. So we see that happening across the globe. We as a government, I say formally, but the government needs to figure out how do they bring all their different tools of national power to the table to provide alternatives. Some of the areas we've been talking about today are on the technology front. I have a space background. I would offer as an example, our commercial space innovation sector right now is phenomenal. We are using our space technologies, our data in ways well beyond national security. Understanding the climate, mapping, countering illegal fishing. This is soft power for Americans and for our companies. So ways that we can leverage some of these newer technologies while clearly protecting and ensuring that they don't fall into the hands of the CCP, but working with our allies and partners across the globe who want to work with us in these areas, figuring out ways to get that kind of information to them and opening up markets for our businesses so they're not just relying on the US government is also important.
Let me thank you all so very much. I think it's been established that the Belt and Road technology or approach is a danger to the framework of democracy of this nation. We need to use that power of our values and, of course, of our technology. I like commercial space just because I'm a NASA aficionado and space exploration is crucial. And Dr. Jose, thank you for that framework that we can utilize. This is an important hearing, and I thank you, gentlemen, for yielding, and I yield back to the chairman.